Americans are still digesting the Supreme Court's ruling this week, including the rejection of President Trump's effort to end birthright citizenship. Justices Clarence Thomas, Samuel Alito, Neil Gorsuch dissented. Writing for the majority, Chief Justice John Roberts, and he wrote, "Citizenship then and now was the right to have rights." Republican House Speaker Mike Johnson called the ruling disappointing, while Democrats celebrated. In a social media post, President Trump criticized the ruling. He urged Congress to get to work on ending birthright citizenship through legislation. Let's bring in CBS News chief legal correspondent Jan Crawford here with the legal breakdown. So, Jan, birthright citizenship was a loss for the president, but we saw a slew of other Supreme Court decisions. How did he fare overall this term?
Well, I mean, like you said, that was a big loss, a signature initiative, right, on birthright citizenship. And he's saying that, it's not that bad, that, he's going to work with Congress and, maybe they can address it. But I don't know what he's talking about. I mean, the reason this decision was so important and such a loss for him is that the Supreme Court, in a 5-4 part of the decision with Chief Justice John Roberts, really preserved the promise of citizenship for everyone, based in the Constitution. And Congress can't just go change the Constitution without a constitutional amendment, and neither can the president. So it was a pretty emphatic loss for President Trump, like I said, on one of his signature achievements. Just like the other big signature achievement in his economic policy was a loss in the Supreme Court, tariffs. And he lost these cases with justices that he had appointed. So, you hear this narrative that the court's always ruling for Trump and they're in the tank for Trump. And if you look at the facts, this term completely blows that up. He lost another decision this week that his administration really argued for, that if ballots are received, have to be received and counted by Election Day. You can't have these grace periods and late arriving ballots. So he lost that big election case this week. He did have some wins. He had a couple wins last week on immigration cases. The court said that, he was basically entitled to end temporary protected status for countries like Haiti and Syria and 11 other countries that he's been trying to do. He argued that temporary protected status meant temporary. And he won another immigration case. The court let him extend an Obama-era policy of turning back some asylum seekers at the border. But those cases are interpreting federal laws. And so Congress can just change those laws. If Congress doesn't, like the way Congress wrote them back in the day, just change them. And the Congress can fix the temporary protected status program. They can fix turn back the asylum seekers. So the point is that the lasting decisions for the president, he really got maybe one, and that's his ability to fire people of executive agencies like the Federal Trade Commission. But even on that one, that is very much part of a line of cases going back 15 years that the Supreme Court has said presidents of all administrations should have this power. And those are cases that let President Biden fire one of Trump's appointees. And that case is one that if there's a Democratic president, say President AOC, in 2028, she would be able to replace all of Trump's people. So again, that decision isn't just a huge win for Trump either. The point is, this is a Supreme Court, a divided Supreme Court, that is actually interpreting the law and not really thinking about the politics.
Jan Crawford breaking it down for us, as always, my friend. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thanks.